Sugarloaf is basically in my backyard nearly. Anytime I'm out, you know, like hiking and stuff like that, the Sugarloaf is always at some point of my viewpoint, if you get me. I would see them through trees and things like that. And so I'm kind of using it, even though it's way up and it's out of proportion, it's not meant to be the Sugarloaf per se, but it's just the inspiration that it's always there in the back of some of my inspirations coming into the forest and out of the forest and stuff like that. So I have trees sort of obstructing it almost as well from my various viewpoints and things like that. I have sand on the surface itself. I kind of start off sometimes with just this idea, and I create the composition and that through basically just the sand itself. So these four themselves are sort of all very forest inspired as well. Again, with this light that you can kind of see coming through the most of them there, it's kind of, again, it's like, you know, to the evening time, stuff like that, the sun that comes through, and there's a lot of thinning in the forest that I find, so there's always some sort of light backdrop as such. So basically with these couple of paintings here, again, it's moving into like the contrast between the living and the non-living, the past and the present. And even though some of these, like I call them broken trees, there's a lot of that happening around in the forestries at the moment. But I can also see a lot of like trees that are just growing naturally, organically, falling off of bits of another tree and that kind of thing. But with these paintings along here, again, like this wax is actual leaves underneath this, again, preserving the idea of something that was, holding on to, again, some sort of a memory of some sort. And again, it's just a lot of cold wax medium that I've used with these, mixed with the oils. Again, I try to not have so much foliage in it, but it happens just naturally, especially with the painting that is the title of the exhibition, Entering the Dream. So basically, this is part of my exhibition. Merely, it's almost became an installation as such, but this is what I have in my studio. I just have these pieces of dried out pine leaves and dried out leaves and stuff like that, or pine needles, should I say. And what happens is I hold onto them, and then I put them onto the canvas themselves, like very delicately. You can see there's leaves on it here, and some pieces of sand and stuff like that as well. But the pine needles, again, they create a texture, and I suppose they are representing, you know, the pine trees themselves as well and stuff like that. But again, here in one of my largest paintings, which I love working on, you just get totally lost in them. Like the pine needles, they kind of scatter around. It's almost like this burst of life, I suppose, and then it just releases into, you know, how trees themselves come about naturally from one to the other, you know, and they just kind of grow naturally in the ground itself. But yeah, so that's why I just added these in as just part of, you know, bringing sort of my studio to the people and letting them have a look at just where all these pieces sort of come from, really, and such. So.